Hello and welcome back to the Void Century podcast. Today we have chapter 972. I am Oden Kozuki and I was born to boil. Absolutely stellar chapter. Oda pulled out all the stops this week and wow, what an end to the flashback. What an end to Oden. Absolutely fantastic chapter. So let us begin.
Yeah, I love the chapter, first and foremost. I think that, we get the conclusion of the Odin saga, and it's just awesome. Very emotional. But yeah, you wanna start with the synopsis of the chapter?
Yeah, so we could start off with the synopsis. So the first big event that happens in this chapter is Shinobu basically gets captured by the Oniwa Banshu. Fuku Rokuju and the rest of his goons come up behind her and they're like, Shinobu, what are you doing? You guys are just sowing seeds of dissent right now. You're just confusing the populace. You're not really doing anything important. But actually, we see the crowd start to come around. They do understand the purpose of Oden's dances. As time wears on, they understand exactly what Oden has done for them and they start to respect him to the point where Orochi and Kaido are getting fearful, so they even surround the whole execution scene with goons with weapons pointed at the people.
And yeah, the audience were just kind of like, why are you telling this to us now? Like, you should have told this to us much sooner. Why is this only coming to our attention now? They were almost frustrated with the fact that they didn't know.
Yeah, but at the same time, those were Oden's wishes. If Oden wanted everybody to know, he would have told everybody.
Right.
Which is a huge dichotomy from when we first met his character, because Oden was all about, oh, it's me, screw everybody else. And now it's like, screw me, I work for everybody else kind of thing. It's really amazing watching his character develop in the 10-15 chapters we've had of flashback.
Yeah, I agree. He's just become one of my favorite characters, even though he was already dead by the time the series started. He's just a fantastic character. He's really entertaining, noble. I think that Luffy and him would be friends, Joy Boy and him would be friends, etc.
Oh, definitely, but that's what made it so bittersweet, is the fact that Oden's a great character. But always in the back of your mind, you knew he was going to die. And I think in this chapter, he really went out like a boss. So let's continue. So Oden's sacrifice, again, he's sitting in the pot. Orochi starts to get scared. He's like, why isn't Oden dying yet? Heat it up more. So they were actually cranking up the heat. And his punishment was actually getting worse and worse while Oden's sitting in the pot. And, it was almost like as the temperature of the cauldron or the pot rose, the cheering of the people and, the support Oden got from his fellow countrymen in Wano is just growing and growing. Again, Oden putting the people before himself just goes to show his growth of character, and I would even go ahead and just call Oden, the humble lord. He's a very humble leader, he's very people oriented, and it's just a shame because Orochi's the exact opposite. Orochi doesn't give an expletive about the people in his country, and it's sad. So one of the things Oden harps on too is he's sitting in the pot and he tells his Scabbards, he's like, hey guys, I might die, but I need you to open the borders of Wano. This is bigger than us. This is bigger than Wano. This is bigger than Orochi or Kaido. I need you to open the borders of Wano. Which is really interesting because upon hearing that and reading this chapter, I find a lot of parallels to Roger's death. And almost like Oden proclaiming that the borders need to be open is very similar to Roger proclaiming that, he left all of his pirate treasure in one piece. So I think Oden's main purpose as he was dying, much like Roger's, is to inspire his people to act and carry on his will.
Also, he dies with a smile on his face. Oden does, that is.
Well, we're not there yet. Alright, so we find out a little bit about the closure of Wano. Kaido and Orochi seem to be very interested in the closure of Wano. The Scabbards also recounted that Oden used to talk about opening the borders of Wano a lot more. I mean, even when we see Oden at first, what's one of the first things he says? One, I am Oden Kozuki and I was born to boil. And two, he's like, this country's way too cramped for me. So Oden also reveals that the Kozuki clan is the reason why the borders of Wano are closed. And the reason it was done is preemptively to protect Wano from a huge, gigantic outside force. Obviously, the way it's written, I think we're led to believe that the world government is this big outside force.
Absolutely.
But I wouldn't place 100% faith in it just because it's very much like Oda to throw us like a red herring or something. For all we know, the borders of Wano were closed because of plagues or something.
Do you think that Wano was closed prior to the Void Century or during the Void Century?
No, I think Wano was closed during or after the Void Century because we know that the Kozuki clan had to have some kind of information sharing or communication with Joy Boy and his clan in order to create the poneglyphs.
Yeah, true. That makes sense.
But then again, I would be very leery of the world government never landing on Wano and fiddling around in the current affairs of Wano. I wouldn't be surprised if, again, it sounds a little tinfoil hatty here, if the world government had some hand in the rise of Orochi and sowing the seeds of dissent on Wano. I could see something like the Bastardly world government doing a move like that. So, pertaining to the closure of the borders of Wano, Oden, he knew he was going to die. He knew he had to sacrifice himself. Again, in this chapter, it's just confirmed. Oden knew what he was doing. All the contingencies he set up, he knew he was going to die. He knew that he wasn't going to be able to beat Kaido. He knew that basically his game, his 60-minute agreement with Kaido and Orochi is just a way to save the Scabbard so that they can carry on his plan and his will. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So Oden outlasts the 60 minutes, and as Oden is literally frying, boiling in this oil, Orochi pulls a huge dastardly move, and he's like, hey man, oh yeah, congratulations, but 2 minutes ago I decided to execute you by firing squad. Oh, and by the way, your family's included too, so enjoy. And pretty much Oden expected this, and what he did was he cast off the platform that had the Scabbards that he was holding up, and basically we see the Scabbards running and escaping, and Shinobu's escaping too, and one by one we go over to like each of the Scabbards for a cameo of just how they met Oden, how Oden changed the trajectory of their lives, like how important, you know, Oden was to their own stories. And all I can say is that really just hit me in the feels right there, because this is it. This is the climax. This is where Oden dies, kind of thing. So there was really a lot of emotional weight in this chapter, and it was bananas.
Yeah, and even though this flashback has only been 12 chapters, something like that, like I think it started in 960, even though it's been only that few of chapters, it felt like forever. It felt like a long time. We've gone and seen a lot with Oden. I believe this is the longest flashback arc in all of One Piece so far. And yeah, like we just kind of grew to love these characters. I mean, we got to see the historic Whitebeard and the Roger crew in this arc. Like these were such awesome moments. We only really heard about these crews for the most part. We barely ever got to see them, and the Rogers crew we never really got to see, like very like only in the very early beginnings where Shanks and Buggy were flashbacking during their childhood. We saw some Rogers scenes, but like it's so few and far between that it was nice to see them in action and actually adventuring. And yeah, like I just love this flashback scene.
No, honestly, the flashback is larger than life. Oden was set up as a great character that has monumental importance to this story, and the fact that, you know, he was flanked by friends and Nakama of both Whitebeard, the strongest man in the world, and Gold D. Roger, the king of pirates, on top of showing us Skypiea, Fishman Island, the creation of the poneglyphs, and even the events surrounding getting to Laugh Till itself, the disbanding of the Roger Pirates. It's phenomenal. This is stuff that we've waited decades for, and Oda finally delivered. And it's real bittersweet because we know the only reason why we got to see such great things is, one, because he's such a great man, and two, because Oden's gonna die.
And that iconic Roger laugh scene, man, like that image has got to be one of the most iconic images in this series.
Oh, totally. On top of Roger and Whitebeard just clashing.
Oh, yeah.
Or just Roger just taking his sword one-handed, spinning around a little bit, and just being like, how do you like that one, samurai? And just smashing him into a mountain. I can't wait to see more Roger. He's ungodly. All right, so back to the chapter. One of the interesting things is after Oden basically goes ahead and proclaims to the Scabbards that he wants to open up the borders, and the Scabbards again reaffirm, Lord Oden, your dream is our dream, kind of thing. Denjiro goes to say something to Oden, and he gets cut off by Raizo, and it's kind of interesting. Denjiro basically goes to state, oh, then we should join Lord Oden in, and then he's blocked off. I don't know what he was referring to. The obvious is, oh, we should join Lord Oden in his dreams, join Lord Oden in his death. But I find it really interesting why Denjiro was cut off. Like, what was he going to say that was so evil or so bad that, he had to be stopped?
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I don't think it's join you in your dream because Raizo cuts him off and says, then we should join Lord Oden in his dream, basically, in Odin's dream. So I'm thinking that maybe Denjiro was willing to sacrifice his life for Odin. I mean, obviously they all would, but that's not what Odin would have wanted. So that's why Raizo interrupted him and stopped him and replaced it with your dream is our dream. That's my theory. I'm not sure. We don't know for sure.
Totally, but I think the Scabbards, after this growth of, the 10 years that they've been under Oden, they know better now than sacrificing themselves aren't going to accomplish any goals for Oden.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're his retainers. They're the ones who fight for Oden even after he's dead. That's the whole thing. Like, even though Oden's dead, like, his will lives on with his children. His will lives on with his retainers. And again, to be completely honest with you, I wasn't too crazy about the Red Scabbards or the Akazaya 9. Like, they were whatever. I mean, Kanjuro's cool, Kinemon's cool. There's a couple here and there that are cool, but, like, ultimately I wasn't thrilled. But now, like, I couldn't imagine Shinobu or one of the Scabbards being the traitor because, as well as falling in love with Oden, we got the backstories on all the Scabbards as well, and it's fantastic. I mean, I've really grown to love them.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely a traitor, and I think that Oda will let us know in this next arc 4, or Act 4, I should say, for the Kabuki play that we're in, that we'll find out who the traitor is. But it's so hard to believe that it's a Scabbard or Toki at this point. It's just, yeah. I mean, I know that there's going to be a traitor, and it's going to be a shocker, but if it's one of them, I would be shocked at this point, just because Oda is a master at making us love all the characters.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much his shtick. Oda's just a great storyteller, and he makes us really invested in the characters, even though we only get like a chapter once a week. It's crazy exactly how involved and invested the readers can get in One Piece. So, again, during Oden's execution, like, Orochi starts to get scared. Dude starts to get really scared. He keeps thinking like, well, what if Oden survives? What's going to happen to this country? Am I going to die? Kind of thing. Like, it just feels good to see Orochi scared. I can't wait to see his demise in the story.
Yeah, same. I want him to have an awesome death. I really want him to be one of the few villains who dies, just because he's been one of the most despicable. Although, I mean, there's been a lot of bad villains. For instance, Doflamingo was pretty awful too, but I don't know. Orochi just seems so vindictive, and his ire is towards the entire country. Everyone in this country he wants to suffer. What an awful person.
Yeah, totally. He's for something his grandfather did, which was in itself inherently evil.
Right.
Like, calm down, you have to understand. But, whatever. Orochi's just written that way. To be hated, I don't think that there's anything that Oda could write in his backstory that's going to vindicate Orochi. I just think he's just a bastard, and he's written as one, and so Oda did a great job. So, furthermore, just going ahead and springboarding off of that, so after Oden survives, Nekomamushi kind of, like, shouts out, and he's like, hey, take that, Orochi, take that, Kaido, Oden's got your number, kind of thing. And then we actually see Ino that like steps up and he's like, hey cat, like don't go ahead and antagonize them. Oden's hasn't survived yet, kind of thing. So we see Nekomamushi and Inuyarashi start fighting and like getting into a spat. I think it's obvious that Oda's painting it like this moment right here is the foundation for the squabbling between Inuyarashi and Nekomamushi.
Yeah, it does look very similar to how they argued in previous chapters, like I guess in the present timeline as opposed to the past timeline. This is the first time we've ever seen them argue from a timeline perspective. So I believe this might be the prelude to that argument and fight.
Do you think the infighting could have gone ahead and set in motion for either Inuyarashi or Nekomamushi to be a traitor?
No, I mean, if they were a traitor, they would have been a traitor already, right? Like, they would have already been the ones who told Orochi or Kaido Oden's plans. So I don't think that necessarily proves that one or the other is a traitor. And I remember when we were talking privately, you showed me the images of Neko and Inu being crucified with one of their limbs each being cut off. I don't think that they would do that to someone who's giving them intel. I don't think that Jack would have done that to their snitch.
Yeah, but Jack still let them live, even though Jack knew that they had ties to Raizo.
True, but again, you wouldn't really cut the limb off of someone who's helping your cause.
I know, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, just trying to explore it a little bit. So, after the Scabbards escape, Oden's kind of just sitting in the pot. He starts to talk to Kaido, and Kaido's like, hey dude, I guess I'm gonna have to finish you myself, kind of thing. So, basically, Kaido takes out a pistol, and, Oden's like, I might be dead, but my will lives on. Don't underestimate my Scabbards. Again, Oden fully believes that his Scabbards are going to go ahead and carry on his will. Oden gets a chance to sit around and talk to Kaido. Kaido is adamant that he's going to end Oden himself. Basically, Oden sits there, stone faces Kaido and says, hey dude, spend as much time as you can, gathering your strength, because we'll be back. This isn't the end of, us or our cause. And then basically what happens is Kaido actually has a man moment here, and Kaido's like, hey dude, sorry about what happened with the old woman. I took her out. She's dead. So you don't have to worry about her anymore. I mean, and even though that is kind of noble, at the same time, you kind of ruined it, Kaido. The whole reason this is happening and the whole reason you lost out on a fair fight is because you used subversion.
Yeah, he says that he had her killed, so we don't know necessarily if Kaido was the one who killed her directly or if he ordered her to be killed. Either way, he had her killed, and I agree. It's one thing to take revenge and kill the person who made it an unfair fight, but why not have another battle? Don't you want to actually see who's more powerful and who would actually win? But I don't think Kaido cares. I think that Kaido is happy being the victor, and he'll use his own morality to justify that killing the hag is enough to make it even.
Yeah, there is a point I'd like to bring up though a little bit later, but we'll just go ahead and continue. Rereading the chapter, I'm really interested to see if we actually see any kind of fruit in this chapter. Any kind of fruit, just anything that could give us a hint as to where the fruit reincarnated. So I'm really interested in seeing that. So what's up with Semimaru, the old man that's got the Bari no Mi? Is he dead? Did Kaido take him out too? Don't you think Orochi would be kind of pissed off at Kaido that Kaido's taking out pretty much members of his family and his personal guard? What do you think about that?
Yeah, if I was in Orochi's shoes, I would not be happy that Kaido killed my relatives. Even if they had didn't have fruit powers, I would be upset about it. I don't know if Orochi is aware yet, and maybe this is just it just recently happened that he killed the old hag. But yeah, I don't think that Orochi would be happy about it, because she's also the one who showed him everything, who told him about the Kazukis.
Or the Kurozumi. She assured Orochi's rise to power.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Kaido's sitting next to Orochi while Kaido's telling Oden this, and it doesn't even faze Orochi. So what's up with that? I'd be pissed.
Yeah, I'd be upset as well.
So do you think Semimaru is dead? Do you think the old man's dead? Do you think he still has some other role to play right now?
I don't think he has another role to play, just because the flashback is over and we know that Bartholomew has the Bari no Mi now, so I don't think that he's gonna be a player anymore, and he's probably gone with the flashback.
Yeah, do you feel bad that the old woman was off-screened? I mean, she's not really a fighter, so I don't really care if she was off-screen. I just would have liked to see it because she's such a hated character.
Yeah, I would love to see any Kurozumi die.
Oof. Alright, so initially, once everybody escapes, we see that there are these large arrows that are shot out from the flower capital to all the different regions to inform everybody of Oden's death. We see Yasuie specifically pick up one of these messages from these arrows and look it over. So Yasuie knows what's going on. He knows what the contingency is and what the next steps are. And then after, we basically see Toki. She looks like a wreck right now. Toki has communication from Oden. I guess she's been carrying around a letter that Oden gave her to open in the event he is killed or he's executed or he just doesn't come home, his contingency plan. It's really interesting because basically in his letter, Oden tells Toki, nobody from our time is going to succeed. So nobody from this current generation, Roger, Whitebeard, whomever, is going to be able to open the borders of Wano. We have to wait 20 years and do a reset. I think honestly, Oden knew this would happen. Oden knew, ever since the prophecy with Joy Boy and Shirahoshi and Laugh Tale that he himself isn't going to be able to ensure the opening of the borders of Wano and, Wano being able to assist Joy Boy. Momonosuke has to bear that weight. And I find it very interesting that last chapter, Toki tells Momonosuke, oh, Momo, one day you're going to have to bear the weight of this country on your shoulders. And then without skipping a beat, you see Oden holding up the Scabbards, literally. So I think it's a nice bit of foreshadowing and symbolism there. But yeah, Momo, even though he's scared, even though he's quote-unquote weak, even though he's not very confident, he's going to have to surpass his father, the legendary Lord Oden Kozuki. So I find that in Wano, currently in this current story arc, we're gonna have to have a lot of character development for Momonosuke. Like, he's gonna have to go from like a scared little kid to doing the 9 labors, kind of like his father did, becoming this larger than life character. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think that he's going to be powerful like Oden by the end of this arc necessarily. If he gets powerful, I think it's going to be through his Devil Fruit. So I don't think he's going to become a great swordsman in the next act of Wano. I don't think that he's going to have the endurance or stamina like Oden did. Like, we don't see any indication of that whatsoever. I think that what he will be is a political beacon of hope for the country of Wano. I think that they will remember Oden and his sacrifice through Momonosuke. They will see Momo, and he looks, at least the people who were alive back then, will see him to look exactly how they remember him from 20 years ago. And I think that will help bring back other memories of Oden and help them kind of remember their love for him and his sacrifice and all of that.
Yeah, I was obviously Momo's still going to be a kid at the end of Wano, so I don't think he's going to be like some ace tier fighter or anything. But I agree with you. I think Momo's strength and character development right now is going to be purely emotional, soft power. It's going to be diplomatic. Momo's going to gain the confidence that he is a Kozuki. He is the son of Oden and Toki. He has the potential to be a larger than life character. He just needs to believe in himself. And I really feel like the main point of Momo's growth in this current Wano arc, I think, is when, he takes up Ame no Habakiri. He takes up his dad's legendary blade that he's been fearful of, and, he uses it. And again, as we alluded to previously, the Ame no Habakiri is one of the legendary Totsuka blades from Japanese mythology that slayed the Orochi. So I think it would be very fitting, even if Momo doesn't get the final blow on Orochi, if Momo by himself could use his dad's sword to cut off like one of Orochi's heads, that'll just prove that he's gotten over the hump. Momo is growing as a character, and everything in Wano is going to be alright.
Yeah, I think that would be very fitting for this arc, even if Momo doesn't do the final blow like you said. Just getting some type of damage in with his father's blade would be awesome.
Speaking of the blades too, we also see that Oden, while he was incarcerated in like that little holding cell in the Flower Capital, he ensured the secession of his blades by giving them to Toki. And somehow Tenguyama got in possession of them. I don't know if Tenguyama was like a retainer of theirs, if he's just like the best swordsmith currently alive on the island kind of thing.
Which one is Tenguyama again?
Tenguyama he's a Tengu, so he's like a mythical being. He's a member of the clan that forged Zoro's cursed blades.
Oh, yeah, I remember now.
Yeah, so he's pretty much like the keepers of the swords right now.
Wait, who was the one with all the swords? Like, stashing all the swords? That was like a fox dude.
I forget his name. Yeah, he was like a fox. I want to say his name was like Benimaru.
Oh, yeah.
He was the monk that guards like the bridge that challenges people for their weapons. We've forgot about him, but I still want to see what kind of role he's going to play in the series.
Oh, I mean, I think it's really apparent that he's going to be the one who gives the people of Wano weapons to help fight against Kaido and his army.
Totally. One of the interesting things too is he was a fox. He was also like a confidant of the Shimosuke daimyo, which Yasuie is too. So we don't know if Yasuie could know that fox, or if they could have like some kind of connection to each other. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does.
So, okay, so to finish off this chapter, Toki looks at Oden's notes, tears it up, just basically states, we don't find out what Oden asks Toki to do in the end of his letter. She tears it up, so there's still some ambiguity there, but Toki says, Oden, we're not a burden to you. Look 20 years into the future and, see the future that you created. On top of that, too, it hit me right in the feels in Oden's note where he's just like, Toki, Momonosuke, Hiyori, like, I'm gonna be the first one to head out. I know I'm gonna die. I'm sorry. I love you guys.
Yeah, that was so sad. It was super bittersweet to see him just be so sentimental about stuff.
Yeah, I mean, furthermore, I know this is not what chronologically happened in the chapter, but we did miss over. So basically, Oden tells Kaido, he's like, hey dude, you better get stronger. Use my story as the story to tell while you're drinking sake. For I am Oden Kozuki. And he goes to do the hand gestures and the pose, and basically Kaido just shoots him between the eyes.
Mid-sentence, before Oden even finishes his death speech.
But in a miraculous way, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. It's going to be so good in the anime. So, I am Oden Kozuki and he gets shot. And then around you see the crowd just prepare and they take a deep breath and then just shout out to Boyle. And I could just hear them all sobbing and crying and cheering. And it's just, for a large part of the population, this was probably the last time that they got a laugh and they got a smile.
Yeah, the last thing we see of Oden is him sunk back into the, at this point, black pot of oil. The oil itself looked black. And all we see is a giant smile. No other features inside this deep, dark, black abyss. Just this smile, kind of like the Cheshire Cat.
Yeah, I think it really harkens back to when we initially saw Oden, he was just constantly in silhouette. Remember, the joke was that Oden himself is he's a silhouette.
He's a shadow man.
Totally. So that smile upon death, we know that Joy Boy's clan, which we believe to be the D clan, and the Kozukis are affiliated. I don't necessarily know if the Kozuki clan is like an offshoot or like descendants of the D clan, but they definitely do like carry forth like the wills and like the ideology of the D clan.
Definitely. Alright, so now that we're done with the chapter, I kind of wanted to bring up chapter 920, where we see the flashback of the burning of the Kozuki castle. And yeah, it basically kind of tells us exactly what happens right after the boiling of Oden. So Kinemon explains that they're running away. Then Neko and Inu are fighting with each other while they're running, and they got captured. So the rest of the Scabbards reach the castle, but it's already burning because Kaido beat them there. So they go in, they find Momonosuke and Lady Toki and Hiyori, and Toki basically explains that this is her time, that she wants to, like, she has the ability to obviously escape this fire by jumping into the future, but she decides to stay because she wants to, it's the same fate that befell on Oden. She wants to have the same fate as her husband. I'm thinking that she just doesn't want to live in this world without her husband, without her love of her life, and she wanted to sacrifice herself as well. So, as we know, she lets her children go with the Scabbards and gives them her instructions, and Momo is sent to the future, and Hiyori stays in the present, or I guess in the past. I just thought that it would be good to kind of go over exactly what happens directly after the events of this chapter, because in the last episodes we were theorizing what might happen during the burning of Oden's castle, and I forgot that we already knew what happened.
Totally, and I just want to point out, because I feel feel like we've forgotten it, or it's just not pointed out a lot. But remember that for Momo, Kiku, Raizo, Kinemon, Kanjuro, this all happened days ago. This was months ago. This wasn't 20 years ago. This happened a couple months ago.
Yeah, it's very fresh for them.
So, I could see it with Momo, like the weight he's just carrying around. And even then, he gets shot into the future. His mom's dead. He gets chased off the island, gets captured by Caesar.
Gets tested upon and becomes a test subject for Caesar. Oh, so sad. Or Vegapunk even.
No, Vegapunk didn't test on him. That fruit was left over from Vegapunk when he was on Punk Hazard, yeah. So just sadistic Caesar.
Oh, that's what it was.
But yeah, this was like months ago for them, and it's been 20 years, and that's why like Ashura Doji is pissed off at Kinemon, and that's why like Neku and Inu, like they're getting older. So it's pretty much official that next week we'll be back in normal present day territory. I think we're gonna have to find out what's up with Denjiro. I think we're gonna see Denjiro and like what he's up to. Like, what do you think? What is he doing?
Yeah, Denjiro reveal has to happen really soon because it's been 3 acts and we still haven't seen him yet. So I think that personally he's gonna come out of the shadows in Act 4 and be one of the reasons that, like, one of the kind of like in Lord of the Rings when Gandalf comes with the army with the sun on top of the hill and all of the orcs are they're blinded by the light. I feel like Denjiro might have a similar moment in this arc or in this act.
So I feel like Act 3, which we're currently in, is basically where the Allied forces are going to get destroyed. It's the Mink Shinobi Pirate Alliance is going to get messed up. And I think that it's going to build up all the tension. We've already seen them kind of get destroyed somewhat. It's just cranking up the tension. And then Act 4 is when all the reinforcements arrive. We're talking Grand Fleet. We're talking possible Marines, or at least the sword detachment. We're talking the Whitebeard Pirates. Weevil could show up. Blackbeard could show up. Like, that's the thing. Anybody can show up. Wano is like such a hotbed that we know like millions of people can and probably will show up to. Here's an interesting thought. Do you think Smoker and Tashigi are going to show up?
No, I don't think anybody that you said is going to show up, to be honest. Personally, that's just how I feel, because Wano is so hard to get to that unless you've already been there, it's going to be really difficult. So people on Whitebeard's crew would know how to get there. But yeah, the general world government, obviously there's Sword there, but Sword is like a top secret undercover branch of the world government or the Marines, I should say, that even other Marines don't know about. So it's a secret to the Marines.
CPI just Zero is there, so there's like more than one faction from the world government there.
Yeah, true. I agree with you, and maybe this could be the time where the borders have to open because they don't have a choice, because everyone already knows how to get there now, that they're like, okay, screw it, we'll just open the borders. But yeah, I think that also Luffy is the one that Oden is talking about in his prophecy. So I think that it's already time for the borders to open anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Totally, but let's tie it back to one thing, because, like, remember when at Marineford, Whitebeard was like, Teach, you're not the one Roger's waiting for. We knew that there was going to be a rise of, like, the second coming of Joy Boy 10 years ago, but we just had absolutely no idea what that actually meant. We thought it was just a figure of speech.
Yeah, I think that it's just the person who inherited the will of Joy Boy, not the second coming of Joy Boy necessarily, not like him being reincarnated into somebody. It's just kind of the idea of
the rise of like the Good D clan.
Right, and even Oden says, my will live on even though I'm dead physically. So, yeah, I think that it's just kind of more of a ideological return more than a reincarnation type of return.
Yeah, that's like a real D thing to say, is like the whole my will live on, I might die, that's why I can be happy, because I know that what I did contributed to something that's greater than myself. And one of the things I want to like tie into that is I was on the net and I heard something interesting and I just want to bring it up, is that maybe Kaido is always so upset and he's so depressed all the time and he's suicidal because he lost out on a gloriful death with like the death of Whitebeard and Oden. I don't think Luffy and whomever he's gonna call, we know Luffy doesn't kill people, so chances are Kaido's not gonna die, he's just gonna be defeated, okay? But furthermore, like, Kaido, he doesn't want to live anymore. Kaido wants to go out like the badass he is, but the only people that could have killed him are dead. So, like, Kaido's either going to go out like a punk or he's just not going to go out. And there's just too much for him to bear. So he drinks and he's just depressed all the time because there's no glory. There's nothing Kaido's working for that's greater than himself. No one's going to remember him.
What happened to the leader of the Rocks Pirates? Was he killed?
We don't know yet. As far as we know, Rox D. Zebek could still be alive. We just know that he was defeated on, I forget the name of the island.
Yeah, by Roger and
Garp.
Right. So, yeah, I think that Rox could potentially be a person, if he's alive, could be a person that could kill Kaido. But again, we don't really know the situation with him. I don't even know if we're going to learn about it. It would be cool to because it seems like there's ties with Rox and Blackbeard as well. But yeah, we just don't know.
Well, Kaido was on Rox's crew, so I don't necessarily know if Rox would kill like one of his own Nakama. I mean, but Blackbeard, who idolized him, did. So, I mean, I wouldn't put it far past him.
But do you think that the Rocks Pirates feel like Nakamas, kind of like the Straw Hats do, or even the Whitebeard's crew do? Because they're all...
No, because they're not part of that good pirate faction.
Yeah, exactly. Other than Whitebeard, the rest of them are kind of dicks.
I mean, but we don't know about, I forget his name, I think it was like Liu Yang, and then there was like Silver Axe. Like, we don't know about those guys.
True, but the other two Yonko... So, like, we know that 3 of the 4 Yonko were part of Rox's crew, and 2 of them are dicks, and 1 of them is chill. So, yeah, I guess we just don't know for sure, but chances are that Whitebeard kind of changed how he was. His personality changed and grew after leaving the Rocks crew. That's just kind of how I see it.
Well, the theory I heard is like the whole reason the Rocks crew was even assembled in the first place was because Rocks kept winning strong crewmates through like the Davy back fight. Like, think about it, the Davy back fight is kind of like a jokey kind of event that was added into the One Piece series that we don't really get to see too often. Nobody really took seriously. But think about it, if you want a strong crew full of members that aren't necessarily the most cohesive group in the world, how would you get them? Davy back fight.
Yeah, and also Davy Backfight, it kind of reminds me of, sorry for dropping another anime reference, but Bleach. You know how Kenpachis are chosen? It's kind of similar, so I like that idea, actually.
I like the idea, too, that once Luffy meets up with Shanks and becomes, like, a great pirate, I believe that they're going to settle their differences or have, like, a game with, like, a Davy back fight. Because there's no reason why the Straw Hats and the Red Hair Pirates would physically fight each other with malice. What are they going to do? They're going to compete in a whole bunch of games to prove who's better, i.e. a Davy back fight.
Yeah, Davy Backfight was a joke arc kind of in One Piece, but it fits the world so well. Like, it fits the Whitebeard pirates or Roger pirates or probably Red Hair and Straw Hat pirates. They all would love to Davy backfight with each other, I'm sure.
I feel like the Davy backfight was initially introduced as something that was like kind of jokey and not to be taken too seriously, but it's the fact that it's in the story and it's like already been in our minds. So we've already been introduced to this fact, so we know that, you know, if a Davy backfight happens in the future, it's not going to be like weird, it's not going to come out of nowhere, it's not going to be strange, we're going to be familiar with it already. So I think it really sets the groundwork for, you know, something that's going to happen in the future. And come on, I would die to see Yasop and Usopp compete against each other in like a sniper contest, or like Lucky Roo and Sanji compete in like a cooking contest or something. I think it would be great. Or like Nami and Ben Beckman doing algebra or something. I think it would be fantastic.
Totally, that would just be fan service for sure. Like, awesome fan service.
But that's what we deserve because we're, as much as we hate to say it, we're all aware that we're in One Piece Endgame. We know it's going to end. We know it's going to be over, sooner rather than later. So we're going to need that fan service. We're going to need, like, the nostalgia, like a showcase. So, like, hey, this is something we've waited for. So, like, check it out. This is, this is what it would be like if the Straw Hats just got to hang out with, like, the red hair pirates and, everybody was buddy-buddy before, the world comes crashing down and we got to take care of business.
For sure.
So is Oden a D? Is Oden part of the D clan? Is it like O-D-N Kozuki?
I don't think he is because I think Oda would have specified. However, he's definitely linked to the D clan through Joy Boy. So it's possible that they just share the same ideology. But I think that Oden is his own thing because he hears the voice of all things, and at least Momo can converse with Zoe, the actual elephant. I don't know if that's its name, but he can converse with the elephant.
Zunisha,
yeah. So, yeah, I think that they have their own role in that entire thing, and they kind of mirror the D-Clan and work in harmony with the D-Clan and have a lot of the same ideologies, but I don't necessarily think that the Kozuki clan is the D-Clan as well.
So, something interesting. Would you find it far-fetched if the Kozuki clans were kind of like vassals or retainers of the D-Clan?
I don't think it would be far-fetched, but I just think that it would be allies. Kind of like how Luffy and Law are allies. I think it'd be more like that compared to being a vassal. Because I don't really get the impression that the Kozukis are subservient to Joy Boy. I feel like they're more peer level than anything.
Yeah, I totally get you. So, one of the other things, what do you think the relationship is between the Kozukis and the Minks? Because I brought this up to you earlier in the week, but I just want to let everybody else know. I am of the opinion that I don't think it's very far-fetched if the Kozukis were the ones that banished and gave Zunisha to the Minks in the first place.
Yeah, I think that it's possible. I think that recollecting on our conversation from earlier, you mentioned that the Minks were likely a prosecuted group of people, I guess, for lack of better terms. They're not people, but they're Minks. Humanoids,
yeah. They still are. I mean, they still are persecuted. They're sold in the auction house.
Exactly. So I think that they could possibly be allied, and Oden's family in the past, the Kozuki clan, might have given them Zunisha to live upon and have a free area where they won't be killed or hunted. And even if they are hunted, it's going to be really hard to find Zoe. So, yeah, I liked your theory. This is your theory, by the way. I don't want to take credit for it, but I like that idea.
You're good. Just going ahead. So we know that Fishman Island, by the end of the story, is going to be destroyed. For the prophecy to come true, Fishman Island has to be destroyed. The fishmen have to get on the Noah, and they have to go to the surface. I think it would also be very fitting that towards the end of the story, Zunisha herself has to die.
Oh man, that would be really sad if Zunisha died, but I could totally see that happening. And also just allowing kind of like how the fishmen are going to be mingling with humans more. Same thing with the Minks.
Yeah, I think the Three-Eyed Tribe, if they're still alive, the long arms and the long legs, something similar has to happen too. The giants as well. I mean, ultimately, at the end of One Piece, with the themes that were currently presented, all races, all species, all whatever, colors, creeds of humanoids are going to intermingle and live in harmony. Everybody's going to be free. No segregation.
And that would also work well with Big Mom's dream. So maybe like she will kind of be happy too, seeing that her dream has also been accomplished.
Oh, Big Mom, pirates, possible allies of the Straw Hats.
Down the line, she sees the light and is like, holy crap, Luffy, you're right. This is the way.
Yeah, but by that time, Katakuri's feeding her donuts to shut her up because he's now in charge of the crew.
Oh man, I would love Katakuri being the leader of the Big Mom Pirates. He's just so cool. He's one of my favorites.
I wish he was my big brother.
Okay.
No, he's so good. If I never see Flampe in the story again, it'll be too soon.
Fair.
Bubblegum girl, I hate her. So let's see what else we got. Okay, so I know a lot of people in the community are talking about it. Do we think Komurasaki is really Toki? Do we think Toki did not kill herself and just jumped into the future?
personally, no, because I think that in chapter 920 that I went over earlier, it's very clear that she didn't want to live and she was dying and all that. So, yeah, I think that to me, she sacrificed herself and she is not Komurasaki. And I think that if we ever get a chance, we won't see a scar in her leg. That's my guess, though.
I totally agree with you. I mean, maybe in the future or something in this story, maybe it's possible we could like meet up with her. But I don't remember in 920, did we see her gravestone? Like when they went to Oden Castle and they checked out the graveyard, was her body there? I think it was. But one of the interesting things too is where's Oden's body?
Yeah, you know what? I'm looking at the chapter right now and I don't read Japanese, so I can't tell. I can't tell if her body is one of the gravestones or not. I can't tell. But yeah, that's a good point. I would guess that both Toki and Oden would be buried next to each other, but I don't know for sure.
We still have to find out the affiliation between Toki's clan and Oden's clan and why Toki wanted to travel to Wano in the first place. That's something that needs to be brought up. And again, another theory I was talking to you about earlier in the week was I like to believe that it would be a nice subtle nod and it would tie a lot of things up if Oden and Toki themselves constructed a poneglyph for their kids on Wano.
Yeah, I think that it's certainly plausible. I don't think it's the case, but I do think it's plausible because Kazuki clan would know how to do it. They would know the method of, I mean, we saw Oden already writing on a poneglyph, so they would know how to do it. I just don't know if he had time to do it or anything like that.
He had 5 years. Oden getting back for those 5 years, he knew what the prophecy was. He knew he wasn't going to be able to take out Kaido. He was just buying himself time. I think it would be very fitting if they left something for their kids other than just swords, because remember, the parents died very young. Like Momo and Hiyori were only like 5 or 6. I mean, and there's only so much the Red Scabbards could tell you about your parents. You know, you don't know the individual motivations and personalities of your parents or loved ones when they die so early. So I think there's things that needs to be passed on. There's information that Toki and Oden would need to pass on to their kids in order to make the prophecy happen. Like the technology to carve poneglyph, why the country was closed in the first place. There's a knowledge transfer that needs to be done that we have not yet seen. And I think it would be very fitting if the only way you could do that is by creating something that's one, impervious, and two, only you know how to make.
Yeah, I mean, you're bringing up good points, and again, I agree that those are good reasonings and it's plausible. I just don't, until it happens, I'm not going to believe it's going to be the case.
Yeah, I totally agree. So if Toki's dead, then what happened to her fruit?
Wait, can we go back to the Momo becoming a warrior thing? Or not a warrior, but...
like leveling up kind of thing? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the chapter 920 notes right now, and I completely forgot, but there's a Japanese folktale of Momotaro, and it's about him, leveling up and befriending different animals and using Kibi Dango to befriend the animals. So I'm really thinking that him and, is it Otoko?
Otomo.
Him and Otomo
Tama
are going to adventure together.
Yeah, I think they are too. Like, again, a lot of people are already shipping them, and I think, like, yeah, I don't see why not, but Tama definitely has a role to play in this story. What that role is, yet we don't know. All we know is that she's wanted by the Beast Pirates. Who knows? Maybe the time Momo levels up is Momo goes all dragon form and protects Tama from getting captured by the Beast Pirates.
Yeah, I just think that the Momotaro story is going to be the Momo and Otama together doing it, as opposed to just one person. It's going to be the two of them. So yeah, I totally think so. I think that we're going to see them together and kind of have some adventures together and make a difference, make an impact in this arc.
Yeah, I'm so down. I think it would be really, really awesome if Shinobu took Tama under her wing, because Tama just wants to be a great kunoichi. And even more so, Tama can be a great kunoichi and see the world once the borders of Wano are opened.
So you know how Shinobu has a devil fruit now in the present? We never saw that in the past, did we?
No, we didn't. She has the age fruit. She can just make things older.
Yeah, so Shinobu potentially got this fruit during the 20 years that passed. And she looks drastically different. She went from being really cute looking with like a Nami type physique to old Asian woman who's a little stout and chubby. And I'm wondering if it's because...
She's an imposter.
Well, I wonder if it's because it's just natural aging, or if it's because she kind of lied and she's the traitor. I mean, I don't think she's a traitor, but this is just devil's advocate of her being the traitor and gaining weight because she has so much wealth now because she's actually Orochi's pawn.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. But, like, we don't know what Shinobu's been up to for the past 20 years. Like, obviously, most of the Scabbards have kept in touch with each other, but Shinobu kind of, like, came out of nowhere. It wouldn't surprise me if Shinobu, the one that we see, is actually just, like, a plant from Orochi. Like, the real Shinobu, something happened to her, she's in prison someplace, and this Shinobu is just, like, passing herself up. Because, obviously, if you're in a kunoichi, you'd be adept in disguise.
Yeah, also, I just wanted to point out that out of the 9 red Scabbards that didn't jump to the future, they all kind of became a little jaded. So Ashura Doji, Inuarashi, Nekomamushi, they're all kind of jaded. Kawamatsu is the same old Kawamatsu, though. He is a stand-up fishman. But the others kind of got a little jaded with time, so it's possible that she could have also, by she I mean Shinobu, could have also gotten a little jaded with time. I don't think so. I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate and exploring ideas. I think that she probably still is an ally and she's not the traitor, but it's just something worth pointing out.
Yeah, totally, but the traitor also contributed to events before the burning of the castle and before, the storming looking for Raizo on Zou. So the traitor would have had to have betrayed Oden and the Scabbards, before the 20-year time skip, before, they had an excuse to get all jaded and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. So let's get back to Toki and her devil fruit. So Toki, assuming she died, her devil fruit would have to be passed on to someone. So I know that in general in Wano, they aren't very familiar with devil fruit. They think it's magic. They think it's ninjutsu, whatever. And they might not understand the nitty-gritty of how devil fruit powers get passed on. So I'm wondering if because Toki's not really from Wano, at least not that timeline of Wano, she was from the Void Century era, so maybe they might have understood devil fruits better. I mean, obviously she knows that she can travel through time. So wouldn't it be cool if she understood how devil fruits work and how they're passed on? If she passed it on to Hiyori or something, and Hiyori is now the Toki Toki no Mi user and has that ability.
It would be fitting to have a gift like that from her mom, but I think Hiyori is still, again, if she has the powers, that's fantastic, but I think she's still too naive. She's still too young to be able to use those powers effectively, because she's been like... Actually, it's a good parallel, because we know that Toki as a young lady was constantly on the run. Hiyori as a young lady is constantly on the run. So it would be like a nice parallel that she's kind of living... Besides the fact that she looks almost exactly like her mother, she's almost living like the same exact life her mother lived.
And also, Hiyori being Komurasaki, like it was already revealed that she was Komurasaki. So Hiyori, if she is Komurasaki, like she was already kind of doing Robin Hood type things. She was basically stealing from really wealthy people who were bad people and taking advantage of the poor, taking their money. And we don't know what she's done with the money. My guess is she's working with Denjiro, and they're trying to set up funds for rebellion. That's what I think is happening. But yeah, we don't know exactly what she's doing with that money. Either way, she is bankrupting these awful wealthy people because they want her. They want her physically because she's a very exquisite upper class escort, and to our knowledge, she hasn't been with a man. I think that she's still a virgin, and even though her occupation might be an escort, she isn't one really. She's just using her beauty to her advantage to help the people of Wano and punish the bad people.
Yeah, I could see that too. I want to know more about Hiyori's character, more about her motivations. I'd like to see more of an interaction with her and Zoro. I'm also really stoked to see Zoro visit Ryuma's grave at the end of the Wano Kuni arc.
Dude, I would love Hiyori and Zoro being a thing. I ship it for sure.
Me too, but then again, we're not. This is not a shipping conversation. We'll have a shipping podcast, I guess, if there's much demand for it. But yeah, I like their dynamic. So, do you think that Zoro is going to give Enma back? Do you think Zoro is gonna have to get another sword this arc?
No, I think that Enma is his now. I think that Hiyori gave it to him, and that's another reason why I ship them is she likes him enough to give him this amazing sword, and he's going to appreciate it, obviously. So I could totally see her only giving it to him because she knew that they would be a thing, that type of situation.
I want to see Tashigi this arc. I know you talked earlier about how we're probably not going to see her, but I think if Tashigi shows up in any arc, she's the sword geek. She's got to show up in Wano where the swords are, bro.
Tashigi's shown up in many arcs already, so that point is not valid.
How is it not valid, man? I mean, Smoker...
Because you said we're going to see her in any arc, but we've already seen her in plenty of arcs.
Yeah, I know, which is all the more reason why she needs to come to Wano. She's a fan favorite character along with Smokey. A lot more people like Smoker and Tashigi than like freaking Caribou, who showed up last arc. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's true. Do you ship Zoro and Tashigi?
Honestly, around like the Alabasta arc, probably, but as of late, One Piece isn't known for having like a lot of romance, and Zoro specifically is not known for like being a romantic guy. You know, the only thing I love is my sword. Zoro's not like a real lovey-dovey guy. I think the interaction he had with Hiyori was absolutely adorable, though.
Yeah, the Hiyori interaction is way more shippable, I feel like. Tashigi, it's just more so that she looks like his childhood crush.
Yeesh.
And she's also a good swordsman, but she doesn't stand a candle to Zoro, whereas Zoro's crush, I forgot her name, but she was a better fighter than Zoro.
Kuina.
So I feel like that kind of invalidates Tashigi.
Yeah, I mean, totally. You can go for some girl that beats you in swordsmanship to like literally the samurai queen or samurai princess. I don't know how monarchies work in ancient Japan. I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay.
But yeah, I mean, I totally ship them. I think they'd be adorable. Yasuie's daughter, Otoko, what do you think's up with her? Does she have any more role to play in this story? Do you think eventually she's gonna like get her crap together and become like a force for good like her father?
Absolutely. I think that she's going to become a retainer of Momonosuke eventually. Or Hiyori. Hiyori already is protecting her.
She already is a retainer of Hiyori.
Oh, okay, well there we go then. So yeah, I think that she's gonna have she's gonna become an icon for sure, just like her father. She will rise to become an important official in Wano at the end of this arc.
So there is one more parallel I really want to throw out. So I find that what Yasuie did for the Scabbards is very much similar to what Shanks did for Luffy. I feel like Yasuie knew this was all going to happen. He definitely has advanced observation hockey farther than we've ever seen before, and I think he knew what was up with Oden. He knew about the history of the Kozuki clan, and he made a bet on the Scabbards because he knew that the Scabbards would one day have to get their shit together and carry on Oden's legacy when Oden died.
Yeah, I love that parallel. I think that it's betting on the future, and we kind of see that a few times, like Red Hair Shanks too, like you mentioned before. I think that it's kind of, it also matches Oden's philosophy of, his will being passed down through the ages, and Joy Boy's philosophy of his will being passed down through the ages. It just, there's a lot of mirroring with ideals passing on. And that's kind of Japanese storytelling in general. You see that in other shonen manga, but I think that is just kind of a trope that we see a lot in Japanese storytelling.
Yeah, totally. Like even Naruto had like the whole will of fire. It's just carrying on the will of your ancestors kind of thing. So it's gotten pretty long, but one of the things I would like to see is I would be really interested in seeing if the Wano arc actually gets turned into like a real kabuki play that kind of just like does the Broadway circuit of Japan. Do you think it's possible?
Yeah, I know that kabuki plays in Japan are supposed to be a full day event. So it's supposed to be 8 hours long or something ridiculous. And you're supposed to just expect to be there the entire day and bring food or get food while you're there, that type of thing.
Yeah, I'm totally down. But what I'm really trying to just get at is like, is this good material? Is there like going to be great critical reception behind it, from the Japanese people, not necessarily those that are into like manga or anime, but
Oh, you think in the real world, are you asking if people would be down to watch this as a kabuki play?
yes.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, it's not the same. It's not like this is actually based off of kabuki plays, most likely. Like how we were talking about Goemon in the last episode. I think that was a kabuki play, and this is based off of a real life kabuki play. I don't think that it's going the other way around. This is just like a modernization of existing kabuki theater in Japan.
No, I understand, and it definitely draws like a lot of elements, but we're uninitiated, so we don't even know if these are like common tropes in kabuki theater.
I think that Oda probably put in the common tropes. I'm not an expert in it, but I'm thinking that this is just his way of putting some Japanese culture, extra Japanese culture, just because we're in the Wano arc, into his epic storytelling of One Piece.
All I'm saying is if that they had a kabuki play of the Wano arc come stateside, we're going.
Down. I'd fly out for that.
Yeah, you better, bro. So I don't really have anything kind of new or unusual to talk about. I think we pretty much ran through like everything I had. Do you have anything? Any kind of freestyling?
I think we freestyled enough, man. Like we went through chapter 920 or 972, chapter 920. We went through a lot of material. Guys, I highly recommend reading chapter 972 and then following up with 920 because you get to see exactly what happens right after. It just feels fluid going back to 920 and seeing what happens with the Oden Castle burning. So highly recommend going back to 920 because it just kind of feels like it completes the flashback to me personally.
Oh, and you gotta reread the chapter because Panda Man does make an appearance.
In 972?
Yep. Here, let me try to isolate it. I definitely saw him though. Hold on.
Yeah, Panda Man is an ancient being.
He is.
Well, he's over 20 years old.
Some say he's half panda, half man.
He's probably a mink. Oh, it makes sense. He's a mink, right? That makes so much sense.
Yeah, totally.
And minks are retainers of the Kazuki clan?
Yes, sir. Love it. We'll find him and we'll send it out. But you got anything else?
No, I'm good. Thanks for checking us out, and make sure to watch us on YouTube. We're trying to grow our YouTube channel a little bit more.
Yeah, anywhere you guys want to connect with us, let us know. If you want to reach out, you can reach out on our YouTube channel. You can send us an email to thevoidcenturypodcast@gmail.com. Yeah, thank you for all the support. Thank you for everything, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.